You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets, and good morning, BigBeat. It's blast off time, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, it's there's a couple things going on here today. Yeah, we get it. We heard from Truth Social a couple of times from the president saying, hey, this is going to be a big, big weekend. The thing is, though, yeah, we got a deal. Is that right, from China? I don't know. Yes, you know, you saw Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying, well, we're going to go back. We're going to go look again. But I think the cool thing is cooler heads are prevailing now, and we have a truce. We don't have a deal. I heard we have a deal. I heard we have a deal. I heard we have a deal. Nope, we have a truce. Right. Now let's get down to bargaining, and let's get down to figuring out. And let's not be negative here. Let's be positive. Our team going across the pond over to China and vice versa. Let's sit down, eat some noodles. Let's go have some burgers and fries. America and China get together, and let's talk this out. We have a new president. Great. So they know what's going on. But, you know, the one thing that got me, Howard, over the weekend that I didn't, and I had to look at it myself, was just exactly how much that China was actually hurting as well in this deal. The number of businesses that were failing were just, it was almost daily. Another businesses or two were failing, not small ones, not little busy business mom and pop. I'm talking about massive manufacturing buildings were being shuttered and very quickly. And so I think both sides realize, hey, the ports in Los Angeles, I've been talking about that for almost 2 months now. It's empty, right? They're playing basketball and playing mini golf in the big warehouses in LA ports. That became a problem. But this is good news for a little while. Let's see how it goes. Do investors believe the deal? Do they believe what's going on? I think so. Dow was up 1,000 points earlier in the futures. So let's see if it holds. If it does, then we do. But there's still quite a few people out there that just don't believe it. It's this quote, sell any rally, right? So,
Yeah, I've seen some of the news ask, is this a bear market rally or is this a true recovery? You know, time will only tell that for us. as will the geopolitical, news that follows, right? I think earnings and all that, while they're moving the needles up and down, nothing moves something the market like this as the tweets do, as you've talked about. We see Apple up 6.37%,
Yeah.
AMD up 7.5%, Amazon up 8.75%, Best Buy crushing it, up almost 10%. It's everything. But what is not up, healthcare, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've known this for a while, that healthcare was one of the things that was on President Trump's minds. We have a different Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the FDA has been gutted a little bit too as well. So there's a couple of things there, and they are talking about it. What's interesting is, and I can see it now, that weight loss drugs will be a focus of these price actions. And that to me tells me everything. That, look, we want to be a manufacturing country. Okay. Well, we also got to produce the thing that we manufacture, meaning that we've got to create something new all the time. And one thing that the United States and our drug companies do very, very well is producing new drugs to make things much better for us, right? And this is going to hurt some of those drug companies. They made a good
product. And just so everyone knows, that policy says the U.S. will adopt a most favored nation pricing rule, meaning Americans will pay no more for prescription drugs than the lowest price paid by any country globally. And for those that don't know, it's a weird way that pharma is sort of set up, in that everybody does not pay the same. And it's usually, what it's done is to help developing countries where they can't afford some of these important drugs be able to afford them. So we'll see how this sort of works out, but that's definitely what's going on. Trump claims it's going to drop prices 30 to 80% almost immediately under the policy. So, again, I can't argue with having lower drug prices.
No, not at all.
We got to make sure we don't put those companies out of business also, right? Because that would
correct. There's got to be a give and take. Someone's got to pay that United States always the first one. Interestingly enough, Sky News now posting that Trump has blinked in this trade war to avoid U.S. recession. It is interesting how U.S. media and foreign media are actually reacting to this data here.
I actually saw that in the U.S. also yesterday. So,
yeah, okay.
Market Watch and Wall Street Journal. The Dow Jones was real hard on President Trump yesterday. I will tell you, as I was doing my research yesterday and putting together our stuff from yesterday, they did pretty hard go against all this, because what they said is that it's just him blinking, like you said, and that all he did was capitulate here, because there was no actual movement. What this is, as you mentioned, is a truce. There is nothing there. And then, again, a lot of, hey, you said there were 50 ready to go and you're announcing 5 now, and, they're not much to them. So we'll see. I do think it is, some of it, is on, everything's on track. It is truth what they're saying, but it's their spin. The one that has me a little more interested is this Qatar and the use of the jet. Seems to be a little bit of discrepancy there, Steve, huh? You look and see that at all?
It's illegal. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't, how is this happening is beyond me, as somebody who understands this side of the White House, accepting a plane from a foreign country to use as travel for the president. Now, for those of you who don't know this, the planes themselves are not Air Force One. They are codenamed that for a reason. But any and every plane the president steps foot on becomes Air Force One. That's just a call sign towards the president. It is an assignment that the Air Force gives to any plane that he's on. But when you say, they call it a flying fortress, and that once it's over, that it's going to go to the presidential as a quote his presidential library when he's done,
right.
That it will just sit there. I don't see that happening. All right, that plane that nice just sitting on.
I also mentioned that Qatar sort of wasn't on the same agreement as it sounds like.
Yeah, no,
people too.
It always seems to be a little bit different, right? But
they're like, we said he could have use of it for a little bit, but
look, the president's unhappy with Air Force One, and there's issues. Look, I know for a fact. I remember those days. Secretary of State's plane always had problems, because there was always, you're the U.S. government. You got to fix those planes, right? And parts are expensive and things of that nature. So I understand he wants to, as we all know, I've been on Air Force One quite a few times. I know what it's like. And I can tell you that I can understand that there's probably it's an aging plane, and Boeing BA is behind getting that plane done, and they know that, right? But they've also had their own issues. So I really.
And we do need to point out that this plane was ordered. The 2 Air Force Ones, which don't take just a minute and a half to sort of make, anyways, they start from zero because they want to make sure that all of it is secured. Was ordered under the last Trump administration. The 2 planes you ordered 2.
Oh yeah, no, but this isn't Boeing's fault, right? They're not getting it done fast enough. In fact, in the previous Trump administration, he was upset because it wasn't getting done fast enough, and it never did get done. And that's a problem, right? Because Biden didn't make that a priority, so probably should have, but he did not. Look, we want to make sure that the president of the United States is always safe, going and running around the world. But this plane that they're building is a super fortress up there, and it takes a long time. But it just really shows Boeing's problems, right? It shows that Boeing cannot get orders done, and then they need to hire people. You want to go manufacture, Mr. President? Go after Boeing. Go tell them get this crap together, right?
Well, he's been pretty critical of them at different times throughout, and
he's right. He's right. Boeing needs to get it together. They need to come together.
Steve, you get some energy out there, but the biggest move in energy has been NRG on their earnings, up about 9% this morning. They're looking to acquire LS Power for $12 billion, funded $6.4 billion in cash, $2.8 billion in stock, plus the assumption of some debt. The asset footprint would be in 18 natural gas-fired generation facilities, provide about 13 gigawatts of capacity. So pretty big deal here. This is things we've been talking about, right? Energy needs to have merger and acquisition.
2 things. You just nailed it. Energy and mergers and acquisitions. Things I've been saying about for a long time, right? I'll tell you one thing. With the announcement of this truce, you are noticing that oil now is at $63 a barrel. I was getting nervous about oil holding there steady at $60 WTI. The Russian central bank also calling oil back to stabilizing around $60 a barrel. All of those things are good. That makes me feel a little bit better that recession might be holding off. I still feel like we're in a recession, but yeah. Hey, if you're out there right now, hit that like button, smash it, bang it, do what you gotta do. But retweet this out there. Let's break 1,000. This is early. Scott Bassett right now on Treasury Secretary is now on CNBC right now, so it is interesting as a replay. It's
going to be the talk of it all day, and yeah, you're seeing sort of some of the negative, like I said, takes on it come today. Scott Bassett described today's trade deal as a 90-day pause. If we had an actual deal, there would be no need for a pause. You're hearing all the descendants out there, the dissidents to everything. Bring
that was in the details, boys. That was in the details. I mean, you got to.
Yeah, absolutely. There is. For me, the bigger takeaway was there was no. This time it seems like the two sides are on the same page at least. We didn't get anything that came out of China immediately that said, whoa, what they're saying is not what we talked about, like we had seen earlier. So I will take that as a strong move. And again, one of the bigger things that the Secretary of Treasury did say that I thought was important was, hey, what came out of this that was the most important is normalized trade discussions that we haven't been.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So I'll take that as a win personally. So I'm taking the weekend as a win. I really am. Unfortunately, Mr. Flanagan's not around today. He should be here to take his victory lap because he was right. Talk about this, and DXY has nicely taken off. Since this news came, money moves first, as he talks about. Now at 101.55, we'll say it is pulling back a little bit from that strong move up, but it did make a strong move to the top of the linear regression on the daily chart there. So, Mr.
All right, let's talk about it. Go ahead. You can bang me now, Howard. Crypto. Bitcoin struggling at the 105 handle here.
I told you if you said that on air, I was going to come after you. Yeah, Steve was already complaining about the fact that Bitcoin's struggling at 105. My big takeaway is, right, Bitcoin normally, what I was looking for to see was, did we have a sell-off overnight as people wanted to pile into U.S. stock markets? And we haven't. It is, if you look on the top right here, gone almost sideways completely with a little bit of an uptick still. Linear regression on that 4-hour chart looking beautiful. And we've held up really nicely, which shows me this is money from the sidelines entering, the market, the stock market, and crypto has held up pretty well. We will see what happens at the cash market open here, of course. That could change. Right now, when we look at everything, the tick is up 200. You hit on one that I think is important to both of us. VIX back below 20 here. So we are back below 20, back below the 200-day MA. I know you've been saying don't look at charts, but I have to.
This one you have to. And I would actually begin to say it, and I think I got a few shows to do today. That it's now time to get back to your charts. Now that the wording is we're going to start to get out of this trade war, and get to talking, great. I think now you can go back to your charts. During this, I've said it the whole way through, during this whole, tit for tat back and forth with China, charts were useless. And I've said that so many times and obviously was right. I think now that some of this is coming out, some of this is getting better, you're starting to understand a little bit more about what's going on. I think now, and I've been calling it clarity. Clarity is going to look closer. So I think your charts are starting to become a little bit more important now, and now we get back to it. But the VIX to me has always been the key, and when it jumped up there at the 60s, I've said it all along. I mean, everybody heard me here. Short the hell out of that thing, right? Because that thing is out of control. It's whack. What's whack-a-doodle? Because quite frankly, it didn't really come to that level of in trouble, right? 60, 80 VIX means that the world was going into recession and depression, and the world was ending. If you go back to 2008, you go back to 2020 during COVID, look at those times when the world was having problems. It didn't do this. This was just nutty zero DTEs blowing it off and causing problems. And now you're seeing what was happened, right? And so this right here showed me a lot. And no, to me, and no, this is this now get back to your charts. I will tell you a chart that's interesting to me this morning is Amazon, AMZN, and I'll tell you why. Because it is the actual massive behemoth that is getting some of those Chinese products that they'll be reselling and stocking, and takes them off the hook a bit, right? Up 5%. My goodness,
8%, 8.2.
8%. Sorry, could get back up to the top of that linear regression up there. Could even go through.
No, it's through. It's up here. It's
okay. Well, there you go.
Line. Yeah, no, it crushed through it. It's through everything.
Yeah,
all of them are. Mag 7 are all through. It's the orange line is the pre-market open. That's what it closed at.
Yeah, sorry, I can't see your screens. But
I'm going to make it very simple for everybody on something that how I'm looking at it today. VIX I brought up right below the 200-day MA, right? We want that below the 200-day means we're sort of bullish and markets can move. And for me, most of the Mag 7, as you look through it, has regained its 200-day MA. And that's what I'm sort of keeping an eye on. As Apple blew right up to its 50-day MA here. And I've got targets and spots of resistance on most of them. Looking at one thing I'll point out, NVIDIA is in the middle of a zone. NVIDIA is one of the ones that's probably the hardest to look at right now. 121.76, up about 4.5% here today. But it's got some resistance still to break through here all the way up to about 125.03. If it can get above 125.03 on NVIDIA, watch for it to blast off to the north. So that's one that's there. Apple, like you said, Steve, blew way up, went above its 50-day MA, or sitting just above it right now at 211.07. I do think, again, it's got some upside resistance here at that 214.57 is my first target there, and then 220.88 second target on the upside on Apple. Microsoft's another one that's interesting here because it was already trading towards it's, you know, unlike the others, towards its all-time high. So it's one that's going to challenge that all-time high here at 453.77. I'd be keeping an eye on it there. Steve, I guess I got to ask a bigger picture. Do you think we continue to moon up all day? I do think we're in animal spirit territory. I'll start off and lead. I do think we're in animal spirit territory, and I do expect us to continue to push through the cash market. What are you thinking?
I would have to ask you why. I think
because I haven't seen the crypto move out yet. So retail now will start to sell some crypto and buy some stocks is my thesis.
Okay.
So that's what I'm
there
watching
there is a risk on mood here. Bloom, I think I'm seeing that now. Bloomberg here. But I think that anybody who was short got blown out in the cash market, and anybody who's long is probably taking some profit smartly. I don't see any problem with that.
Yep, I would be taking profit. I already did on my NVIDIA personally.
Oh, very good. I'm still staying long on NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA has got two new chipsets coming out, and it's going to continue to go higher. But you nailed it. I mean, good for you, right? That last 105. So, but I think I like. I'm not
and it's still in my long term. My swing trade is over. My long term position.
Good for you, man.
105. I am ready.
And
to
that's
buy
a good
stuff.
point, Howard. I mean, look, we all have. We should all have an account that is our long term, and your trading account should be separated from your long term account. And as you made money, right, he'll put that cash in and put it in his longer term and buy something, and then sticks there forever. That's how you build wealth. It's not taking the money and growing that in the trading account and then trying to throw a lottery ticket every 5 minutes. Eventually, you're going to lose, right? That's exactly how you build.
No,
wealth.
my philosophy now is to wait for the inevitable pullback that will come at some point this week, in my opinion, and I will then, reallocate that money back in. Could happen today. Could be Friday. Could take the whole week.
You are nervous
looking for value again. I'll start to look for value.
So what you're saying is you are nervous then about these headlines.
No, again, I remember I was very light, but what I did have was in a 2x NVDX position and an MSTU position. That's a 2x on MicroStrategy. So my move up today has been an accelerated, 10% on NVIDIA. So I'm going to take that 10% win plus what came over the weekend, which made it almost a 40% win just since the close on Friday. And I'm going to take advantage of that to, again, to have cash on the sidelines to reallocate. Could be short, could be long today. I do think both sides are open for me today. Where we've talked about, I don't want to be short the market we talked about that right on last week. I wasn't going to be short the market. Today, if we do see this extended rally through the cash market, I will probably look towards the end of the day that I think we'll get a little bit of a blow off there. Maybe I short the SPY, maybe I short the Qs at that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't be short anything right now.
I'm not, like I said, not this morning. No way.
Yeah, there's too much going on this morning. I just would not be short anything right now.
Yep. No,
I also will say that the 10 years is popping again, 4.469 here. Does this give obviously you heard it from Powell on Wednesday that the uncertainty around the tariffs and all around trade is a concern. Is it still a concern to him, right? And the answer is probably yes. And now the rates have gone back up, and now they didn't cut rates. So, ouch. Now we're in a problem, right? And I think that's what Trump was trying to say to Powell. Hey, cut rates, cut rates, cut rates. Inflation's coming down. We're losing jobs. This is a problem. So what do you do? And so they didn't do it. And I think that we're going to this could be a two-edged sword now with if we are getting a trade deal in 90-day pause. In a 90-day pause, you're going to get two more meetings from the Fed.
And Fed Watch right now has us 91% staying where we are in June, and 56% now, 59% now that we're staying where we are in July. So bad news for me. One that wants to take advantage of my refi that's going to run out.
You will never refi your house. I'm sorry to tell you that.
I still got another year, so I still got time.
Rephrase that. You will not be You will not be within the year refinancing your home, because I think rates are going. Look, let's be honest. Powell is trying to protect the banks, so he is doing that by keeping rates high because the banks make money when the rates are high. Guess who doesn't make money We don't, and the U.S. government does. Anybody that has debt, if you have debt, you're screwed. Hello, Mr. Fed, you have debt too, right? And
They have the
so
most debt.
they have the most debt, right? So you would think that they would pay attention, but they are not. Mexico's finance minister says Mexico has reasonable assurance in 2025 growth and fiscal balance estimates coming in within the expected range. That's good to hear because Mexico seemed to be having a lot of
Steve,
issues.
what you were just saying is, spring housing market has stalled. We've seen
Yes,
listings rise, but buyers are backing off due to that 6.7% interest rate. That came out over the weekend too. So some of the comments there was that, builders and overall built in certain areas, Texas, Florida, Southeast, offering big incentives, and sellers of existing homes are struggling to compete, right? I mentioned about that in Ohio, that I was given a very attractive under 6% interest rate that I just recently saw them again under that. And that, that's why you're seeing sells. Huge problem in Florida by you, Steve, condo glut for sure. The higher insurance costs and the new condo regulations is definitely a problem. Canadian sellers exiting due to the cross-border tensions, adding to that. And unlike the 2021 frenzies, buyers now sleep on decisions. So we're not seeing that instant decision.
I will say that Florida, California, Texas, where they're having problems, still has one advantage. Sunshine and beach, the weather, right? And that's not going to go away anytime soon. I get it. September, October is not fun here sometimes. But that's not going to go away. And yes, I know there's some political issues here on the border. And of course, there's an unfriendly governor towards that too as well here. But weather doesn't change. Politicians do. And so eventually, I think that'll be, look, if prices are falling again in Florida, Florida home prices only go one direction. It's a matter of time, right? In 08, when
it's like
08
Bitcoin, it's inevitable.
I bought 3 homes, right? I mean, do that, right? Take advantage of this, right? The mispricing of pricing, as I always say, right? Right now, the mispricing of pricing is in homes. I don't think we're quite there yet, because I think rates are still a little high for a lot of people, new buyers. Rents will continue to go up. When there is a point when rents are too expensive for the average renter, then the home prices will feel a little bit more comfortable, because we got to see wage increases to increase. If they don't increase at the same price of rentals, then they start to look at homes. I get it. But as I always tell people when they buy a home, whatever you think the price is and whatever you think the costs are outside of the price of the home, double it, because that's about where it'll be. So, always protect yourself with costs. But all right, 104.3 now on Bitcoin. Are we going back to 105? Howard, please say.
Yeah, we only tried one real good attempt at it. We'll have a few more. We'll definitely be challenging it. Although, like I said, I'm looking to see if we see a sell-off here in the cash market open to people that had that money in IBIT versus Bitcoin itself that maybe aren't really believers. Say, I'd rather have that money in the Mag 7 or in whatever else they might think today. So that's what I'll be watching, is for that cash open, what happens here. We've seen huge inflows into Bitcoin over the last few weeks. Was that retail or was that institutional? If it was retail, we know that they'll take profit on Bitcoin and in general move it over to stock. So that's what I'll be watching, Steve. Advanced decline sitting at about up 4,000 right now, 40,040. So again, we're looking probably at 15.5, almost 6,000 to the upside when that opens. Probably close to 6. Tick up 275, still moving to the upside. As you said, Q's trying to go up 4% here, 507.37. Trying nice little swing back up to the upside. I will say, the highest spot that they hit. So the key level for me, the first spot to watch on the Q's is going to be 508.07. So 508.07 is the first key spot to keep an eye on the SPY. That same level would be right at about 582.51. So those are the two key spots here. If we blast through those on the open, watch for the algos to catch up. Algo is going to be interesting here this morning, Steve. All the news has been good. Do they buy that? Do the algos buy? That's what we'll be seeing here in a few minutes. So in 2 minutes,
I
we'll
don't know
see
what the
that.
algos do today. I think they take
They
profit
could
to be
sell off, but there'll be a lot of rebalancing, right? A lot of things for ETFs and all that would have moved now from where they opened on the weekend. There's some forced selling there. They're heavily weighted towards one or two stocks. The other thing before the open, the ones that I would be, and when I mentioned looking maybe to short a little bit, it would be the stocks I put up here on the board right now, China exposed stocks. I'm not buying that we're going to get a long all hoity-toity, and at some point I think that will, break down like it always tends to. So
There are
PED,
reports that
Alibaba.
Netanyahu spoke to President Trump here this morning. So things are moving quite nicely there. That might be a little bit more of a push to the upside too as well.
Yeah, if we can get some things settled over there, that would be a good thing for sure. Definitely.
And we still have issues in the border of Pakistan and India. So, all right, we got about 1 minute here. Let's go. Let's see how this market opens. I think we have a good rally, but then let's see what that first move is. Probably to the downside is probably taking for the cash market. Some of the people that can't trade in the pre-markets.
Yep. 1 minute away so far. We are ready to go here. Steve, we do have some earnings coming in today too. Like we said, NRG already on the upside, but ones I'll be looking for later: Plug Power, PLUG, GoPro, Zoom Info.
All right, we are open here. First,
here we go.
First move is to the upside here. Yeah, sure. Look at Nvidia. Kaboom.
There we go. Nice little move to the upside here. So let's see what we get. Like I said, I do think we're going to see a continuation through it. Yeah, we're booming here. Here we go. Now, what I'm going to be watching, Bitcoin is not. So like I said, Bitcoin just sort of sitting there 104, 100. We'll see what it does here. 54.80 on the advanced decline, so a little less than I actually thought. Healthcare probably bringing that down a little bit. Bitcoin is sliding a little bit back towards that 104 area, so we'll keep an eye on that. Qs just took a huge dump.
Yeah, there's probably some
505.88. Yeah, we're going to see it, both sides of it here this morning. So we are seeing the algos. First move was quickly to the upside, bought off immediately. So they tricked some people there.
Yeah,
Bitcoin trying to hold the 104 area nicely, protecting 104 pretty well so far.
I just wouldn't be short anything right now. Profit taking, yes. I just wouldn't be short.
I'm with you. And like I said, I'm fairly neutral. I still do have a little bit short term in NVDX and in MSTU, but in general, not much. Tick's holding up, Steve. Tick is holding up so far. Q's continuing to slide to the downside, though. So we're definitely going to see some profit taken here across some of them. NVIDIA, the one that's holding up, though, nicely. So is Amazon. So it's not there where we're seeing it fall off.
I think the market's confused is what I think.
Coinbase, Mara, crypto, Bitcoin mining stocks all looking nice again today. Riot up another 6% here today. MSTR up slightly.
All right, back on the highs of the day there on NVIDIA. Come on.
Yep, NVIDIA trying to get up 5%. Nice little move here.
Dow's up almost 1,000 points here. Look at Stanley Black & Decker up 15%.
I will say Apple's the one that's seeing the sell-off, it looks like, out of the tech sector. Again, it was challenging the 50-day.
They are talking about raising the price of their iPhone. I don't know that I would advise that too much. Look at that.
It's funny. I had a little disagreement with the wife, is complaining that her phone is giving her problems. And I'm like, babes, hold on till September.
Yeah, no, hold on.
Wait for the new phone. Just wait for the new one.
If anything, buy the old one, right? Because
Oh, yeah, I don't want to buy an old one now. Yeah, or get an old one that isn't the latest, because to pay extra for one that isn't that much better. Amazon hitting
I will say that the new patents
the
at
camera is
Apple,
much better.
the foldable phone at Apple, it seems very interesting. New patents out of that. That's interesting.
That will be cool to take a look at for sure.
Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu now has instructed a delegation to be sent to Doha tomorrow to negotiate a hostage release plan.
Let's hope. Absolutely. That would be great news. That would keep us moving to the upside for sure here.
A lot of
struggling, still down, up 3.42%. But again, we were challenging 508, now down at 504.53. So a little bit of over exuberance off the start, I think, giving some advantages.
Hasbro, Mattel looking good after that, by giving them a little bit of a reprieve.
Definitely. Best Buy was up nicely. All those retail names were moving nicely.
Maybe you'll get $2 instead of $28 or $30, right? I was shocked when I heard that comment. That was interesting. Ulta Beauty also getting a nice little pop here.
Steve, we got a pretty weak day on data today. Not much up. Tomorrow, CPI will be the first one, so we will start to see. We got CPI tomorrow, right? And then on Friday, we've got consumer sentiment, and I forgot, skip Thursday's retail sales and PPI. So we do have a decent amount of, economic data on track today. Again, I don't know what the rear view mirror should do for people. Hopefully they're looking at the forward-looking one. Steve, the other one I'm watching today, two of them, actually, Simon Property will have theirs, so we want to see what's happening there, right? That would be a good channel check for what's going on in the retail sector as they are there. And then I want to see what Hertz has to say, right? We know Hertz really took off HTZ after, Mr. Ackerman wanted to get involved there with that company. We'll see what they do today. Pretty neutral so far, up about 2% here this morning, leading into their earnings, but we will see what they have to say. Okay, we are seeing tick still moving to the upside. Advanced decline sitting right about that 5,300. We're treading water now, I would call it, on the SPY and the Qs. We sort of hit that little bottoming, starting to see a little bit of a move back to the upside. The question is, do we see that move back to the upside off of the bottom of those short-term linear regressions, or are we set to see a little bit more of a sell-off? Steve, the one thing we really didn't talk about is, we wanted to stay more on business versus the political side, but we didn't really get any concessions out of anything yet in this trade deals, have we?
Nope. That's the quiet piece of all of this, right? Is that, hey, I need to see the devil. Like I said earlier, the devil's in the details. What's the real details? But we got a 90-day reprieve, and that's cool. That they're willing to talk. Willing to talk means a lot to me, so I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Selling seems to be picking up a bit here. Profit taking seems to be. The algos seem confused. The algos seem very confused.
They're not really. They don't seem to be doing much. It seems like they're almost someone shut them off this morning. They're not really doing all that much. So. I mean, it could be. We could be wrong. It could be what's holding the market up at 504 here. Are the algos what's holding it up, and retail's trying to sell it off? I don't.
I agree with that. I think retail's making a big mistake. They always do. But I think you're right. I think they're making a big mistake here. The algos are probably going. You know what? I'll just sop up all that liquidity as they're selling.
I'll let them take it down if they want to. I'll buy a little. I'll buy. And what I'm talking about is they're not pushing it back up. The algos aren't doing enough to push the market back up. As you can see on this 1-minute chart, they're allowing it to call. They're stalling each drop, but then they're allowing the drop to continue so far. So now, it is to the downside.
Machines seem to be turned off this morning. Yeah, they're trying to push it down. I think it's the wrong direction this morning.
And I'll tell you, Bitcoin holding up like a champ, 104, 135 here, Steve. So holding up really well. You still got a nice, even upward linear regression on a minute chart here on Bitcoin. So I'll always be happy with that. Really nice one on the 3 and 4 hour chart.
Yeah, I mean,
I will point out, Steve, the one thing to keep in mind is that, we need to get the linear regression on our daily chart here. I'll pull this up bigger to start to get, and it will quickly start to be more upward facing. Right now, we're right at the top of that linear, and that, again, that's where you usually stall out at, right? You can see we stalled out there.
There you go. China's foreign ministry, Wang Yi, met with foreign ministers and representatives from the Caribbean countries. That's interesting. They now own Africa. They might as well own the Caribbean too.
Tick has just slid negative here, so keep an eye up. VIX is the one I'm keeping an eye, though, Steve's holding 1924. It hasn't picked up. If anything, even the VIX is selling off. So that's where I'm starting to get a little bit of my spidey senses. Crypto holding up. Stocks are dropping down. VIX is dropping still.
They're letting the retail take their profit, and they're going to wipe them out. They'll take that liquidity, right?
That's what it looks like to me. So I'd be careful here. We'll, betting to the short side.
It's weak hands, right? They just can't. Look, I've said it. What do I mean by weak hands? Well, when you and I bought at 105.20 on Nvidia, I'm still not selling. It's 122, but I people were trying to sell at 107 and 110 and 111 and 112 and 115. It's 121.5. Thank you. That's I didn't want to have weekends. I had a good thought thesis process on Nvidia that selling was nutty. The zero DTEs were stupid, and they were, and we took advantage of that. I bought that liquidity from them. I went heavy on Nvidia, and here we go at 121.50. And I'm still not going to tell you because I think we'll be blow past the high of the day at 122.82. I think we go 125 this week sometime, right? That's a 20%.
The rut right now up almost 4% of the day, the biggest winner. So,
we've been talking about that forever. I said any good news in your small companies are going to go through the roof. Yeah, there you go. Hey, we're only 60 away right now from breaking 1,000 views today. Come on, let's go. Dow's up over 1,000. Yeah, I had a feeling that this was going to go right back up.
Yeah, nicely moving up. Tick still slightly negative, but not anything to worry about there so far. Qs did drop below 504, but now trying to regain into them. And again, we do see a little bit of a rounding bottom on the short-term chart, although we do show both trend direction and divergence bearish right now. So let's see what we get here.
Yeah, The Economist now posting exactly what I've been saying. Well done, Economist. Finally, welcome to the news here that, and I'll post it here, that because of oil falling below that 60 handle a couple of times, see if I can post it there for you, that it's troubling for shale drillers. That's correct. Yeah, it's very troubling because they can't make money in the shale business. Fracking, shall we say, up in the North and South Dakota area. That's tough for them. They can handle it down in Texas a little bit. They can handle it for sure in Saudi Arabia. They can't handle it in North Dakota, right? They can't handle it off the coast in the water, especially North Sea, off the coast of UK and in the Gulf, because it costs more to do that. So, all right, a little bit selling again.
And Bitcoin struggle a little again here, back down at 104. So
see, even you don't like that struggle. I don't like that struggle.
Well, like we said, here goes a sell-off 103. So here you go. So watch for the drop back. Those of you that have been asking, where's the pullback? Could see it right here.
Yeah, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this pullback here. They're testing that, see how much they can get out of it. But oil still falling out below 63 handle again. This means that people don't believe the administration. So I would say be careful here. Profit taking is
still dropping 502. Q's just lost 503, so we are still seeing a sell-off. So again, you asked me before, why did I already sell pre-market? Here's why. This is what I was concerned about.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we're waiting on the next tweet. I get all that.
Yeah, but this could give me, I'm looking at a good 1%. I can buy 1% more than I owned right now already.
Bitcoin just dropped like 400 points, like boom, like it was nothing.
Yeah, so right here,
they're just hopping up liquidity. I that's what I think. I think it's scaring people to get back out so the big boys can get back in. That's all they want.
Just leave a little on the bone from the little boys like me. And I will tell you, if NVIDIA tests the bottom of this zone I had here at 119.57 or so, that's where I'll be looking to reallocate back into NVDX. That would be a hell of a move for me. So I don't see much moving still to the upside here, Steve. We just continue to see sliding across the board in general. The Qs did regain that 503 area, so that 503 area seems to be the key spot on the downside here.
What was the top now becomes the support now, right?
Yeah, and I wonder, Steve, I mean, the thing I will point out on the Qs, like you said, charts do matter a little bit here. Your downside is the 200 AMA sitting at 490.23. So you still have about 10, 13 points to the downside here on any kind of, real sell-off. So, that is what you do have to keep in mind here. You can start to see some of those areas where right in the middle with the Qs of, a support, your support here back at 490 and your key resistance at 518 to keep an eye on. VIX not moving, Steve, 1917. Like to see that personally so far.
I will say
that has taken a little bit of a hit here this morning since
President Trump will have a news conference this morning, so be careful out there that this could be really volatile.
He might pick up. See, thanks, Shane, for that. We see oil markets will make budgets in smaller states interesting going into 2026. I think Steve's been talking about that a little bit here already. Absolutely. And Market Shark says he was a little short getting ready for the anticipation. So one further than me, big guy. Like I said, I took some profit myself in the pre-market and now sort of waiting. I wasn't willing to go short because I didn't know what these algos would do. They still scare me.
PR says that we are way too annoying.
We appreciate that. Always love it. 103,862 here on Bitcoin, Steve. So we are seeing a little bit of that sell-off. We did bounce a little bit on the short-term chart here.
So a question, Market Shark, are you did you take that profit taking and then are you going back in? Or are you sitting on the sidelines there?
No, he's saying he's short in anticipation of a pullback. How far? I guess the question might be, how far do you think the pullback is, or do you think it's already sort of ended?
That's a very good
503.70, 503.70 here. So we are seeing the Qs bounce back up a little bit here.
And good morning, Shane. How are you, my man? I've known Shane.
NVIDIA down about 4% here, trying up about 4%. Man, that's a quick sell-off on a little rip there on NVIDIA. So we are seeing the algos seem to be short in the market right now, Steve, because that was an interesting one. If you look at my 1-minute chart here, it tried to make the nice move bounce off of that 120.66. And as soon as it hit that first level of the one standard deviation to the downside, it took right back off to the downside. When it hits a line like that pure to me, it says algos was in charge of it. So we do see the algos pushing us, it looks like to me, back to the downside a little bit. Advanced decline at 51.62 and the tick now negative 146, picking up a little more steam. And yeah, NVIDIA moving back below 121 here. So we do see, again, we see some profit taken. We do see some selling. Not a surprise here.
Ain't scared.
A big move up over the weekend.
I'm definitely not scared in this market at all. I'm going to say long. I just, I'm just going to say long. I don't see anything in here that's making me change my mind here. The buying on that dip a few weeks ago was what got me in the capitulation. When everybody got scared, I did not. I bought heavily, and here we are, and here we go again. Right? They're getting nervous again. It seems that the nervousness is overwrought a bit. There we go. About to break. There we go. 1,000 views now. Hey, let's go.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Seeing out of Saudi Arabia, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia will sign an agreement to cooperate on developing a civil nuclear program for the kingdom during President Trump's visit later this week.
Yeah,
The agreement will not include any steps.
There you go.
Agreement will not include any steps on Saudi normalization with Israel, as reported by Reuters last week, though, amid growing frustration by the Saudi over the Israeli government's policies regarding the Palestinians. A source basically saying that the Saudi source says if the U.S. fails to implement the agreement, that Riyadh will turn to China for existence. It would be a major blow to the U.S.-Saudi relations. So looks like geopolitical in the Middle East maybe not moving as far in our favor as you and I might have thought a little earlier this morning.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody here can explain to me Middle East policy, I mean, I worked in that desk in State Department. I mean, I know it pretty well, but Middle East policy is very interesting. Here, being someone who's been in the markets 34 years, Howard, the old adage, sell in May and go away, is definitely not happening this month, right? We're already seeing it. And look at this. I mean, I am not concerned about this. I think that the old adages, the charts, look at, okay, let's go NVIDIA. Not changing my tune here. I think the thesis is still that we're still stuck at whatever Trump's tweeting. I think we're also stuck with these tariffs, and now we've added another one now to us, the drug policy. Interestingly enough, but China going into LATAM, China and Africa. Do you know the biggest trading partners in Africa is no longer the United States? It is China now. And every single country in Africa on the continent, the United States does not lead in trade with any country now in Africa. It's all China. So
Bitcoin
they are
regained 104K here.
Yeah, I'm not scared here, Howard. I'm still staying long here.
Does look like we're starting now to see the rise, but now it looks like we are starting to see the move to the upside.
I think you're right earlier about the CPI report. I think people need to see that. As you know, now I answer the questions now for the Atlanta Fed, and even my own self, I was a little nervous. You can see the way the questions were being asked. Is there nervousness in the markets? Are you going to raise your prices? Blah blah. We're not raising our prices here, by the way. Quasar Markets. If you haven't had a chance, go to quasarmarkets.com. Make sure you sign up for the free account. It's only $15 a month if you want to get rid of everything, those sneaky ads, and get rid of all that. Right now, breaking news: Trump is now speaking from the Oval Office, and he is talking about drug price cuts. So expect your drug companies
keep an eye on the healthcare sector. Would be the interesting one here.
He's also praising the full and immediate ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Yeah, come on, Bitcoin, let's go. Yeah, a little bit of a push here. I like this.
Yeah, nice little moving on.
Leadership of India and Pakistan is unwavering. They are saying that the Trump is U.S. ready to help India, Pakistan with trade as well. So even with talking about the issues in Kashmir province, he is still talking about trade. Trade is on his mind.
Yeah.
Trump says trade is a big reason they stopped fighting.
Could be. I don't know.
I mean, it could be.
I got one for you, Steve. I think I found the tweet of the year so far from Ben Carlson. S&P 500 start of the year 58.81, now 58.11. 10-year Treasury yield start of the year 4.6, now 4.5. Boring year. That quote wins the internet for me today. Good job there, Mr. Carlson. That is a funny one. Yeah. Nothing to see here, right? We're right where we were January 1st. That's
He's right. Funny. We haven't done anything. Literally, all of this work is just busy work. Doge did not cut anything from the government except people, and the Doge itself has cost the country more than they've actually saved. Can you believe that? And of course, that's why.
Funny how quiet they got after Elon left, huh?
Yeah. Trump says he will soon negotiate with Pakistan. So there you go.
104.4, nice move up by Bitcoin, blasting through. So here you go. Short there, just as Steve said. So it's definitely getting hit here on Bitcoin.
I just wouldn't be short here. I don't selling your profit. Okay. But being short is about as silly as you can be right now. I mean, you had an opportunity to buy a little bit. Although, I mean, I'm still sticking 104.6.5 now. It's still going. I like to see,
like I
like
said, everything's
105
moving back up. NVIDIA 121.79. Q's back at 504.84 here. So trying to move to the upside. So we do see, here we go, starting to get a little bit of strength in the market. Tick up to 11 again. Advanced decline back above 5,200. You know, I want to see the RUT get 4% up here. If it gets over 4, I think small caps could lead the day. Trump saying agreement doesn't cover tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, or pharmaceuticals. Oof.
Yeah, and China is very big in pharmaceuticals. We get a lot of pharmaceuticals from China, so I think it should. NVIDIA back to 122, by the way, folks. Yeah, no, I like
We're
this
moving
thought.
nicely to the upside, but with the president speaking, so people so far liking what they're hearing. Here he is.
He says he's going to speak to Xi at the end of the week. Yeah, let's get this done. Trump says he's not looking to hurt China, and Apple is building a lot of plants in the United States. So, you know, he's and that he spoke to Cook this morning again. He is really having a nice chat with Tim Cook. I've agreed with this. I've said this. You know what? You're the president of the United States. Go talk to the companies out there, right? Go talk to them. See what they're saying to you.
Markets have sort of cooled off as he's gotten on. It's just sort of gone sideways here.
And they took that away at the last moment, and then they canceled the whole thing. And then 6 months later, we ended up doing a smaller deal, but it was a big deal. It was $50 billion worth of product that they were going to purchase from our farmers, etc.
Tick down 3, almost 400 here.
Yeah, they're not liking as he's talking. It's moving the wrong way.
I said, you got to get 50. Because when I asked him, you remember the story when I asked, what are we doing with that? The Secretary of Agriculture at the time, so he said, so it's about 15 billion, and we're asking for 15, and I thought he said 50. So I said, so they came back with a deal at 15, and I said, no way, I want 50, because you said 50. They said, so we didn't say that anyway. They said, go back and ask for 50, and they gave us 50. And they were honoring the deal. And we called them up a lot for the corn, for wheat, and for everything. They were honoring the deal. And then when Biden got in, they no longer honored the deal. There was nobody to call.
Oil dropping here pretty heavy down below the 60, 62, 82 now.
And our farmers were doing great. I said to them, buy more land and bigger tractors, if you remember. That's what happened. But the deal was a very good deal. But the best part of the deal was that we opened up China. China agreed to open itself up to American business to go in.
That tick continuing to stay down about 366. Advanced declines dropped about 300 since the president's been speaking.
We're hearing reports
going back at 104.3 about where it opened up.
There's a joint
Ethereum continuing to moon up 25.61.
We're hearing that joint ministers in Europe are now helping to restock Ukraine here. Interesting there. That would be negative here.
The opening of China. Well, the biggest thing that we're discussing is the opening of China, and they've agreed to do that. But it's going to take a while to pick. It's not the easiest thing to pick. But that's the single, I think, to me. Some people disagree. Some people say we'll get the tariffs or whatever. But, you know, especially when you add what we already have. Because remember, we're already getting 50% of steel. And
still slightly sliding down here. Q's back at 504 though. Finding a little bit of strength at that 504 level. So Rut's been hit for about a 1/4 percentage point here as he's been speaking.
Kind of quiet though, I think.
VIX is, yeah, VIX is, like I said, it's not doing much, but just stopping what was happening.
that's what we're talking about. So that's a very Very important element to add.
Opening up China will take a while to paper, says Trump.
I want to speak the other day. I think he didn't understand, but it's something to say.
But you know, I think he's right when you're talking about the fact of China is now negotiating, right, and that they're opening up again. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Citibank now pushing out their forecast for the next Fed rate cut to July from June. I agree with that now, 100%.
Yeah, I mean the 10-year, as you said, was telling us that already, right?
Everything we needed to know.
5.3% here.
Trump now says China is suspending non-monetary barriers. That's good. What does that mean? That means ports. That means everything that's not a tariff or anything like that. That's very interesting to me. Yeah.
But again, to me, the biggest thing that came out of that meeting is they've agreed that we have to get the paper, but they've agreed to open up China.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to ask you. We've watched this first half hour. What do you think we see the rest of the day? Or do I have to tell you what Trump?
I think
the rest of the day?
Oh, Trump says the hostage Alexander will be released in 2 hours.
Well,
all right.
Released in about 2 hours, actually. And he's going to be.
I think we melt up in crypto. I think the rest of the markets could be a sideways choppy day unless there's more tweets, and I think that we might see more tweets. But I think that we're starting to see a little bit of the sidelining of the news of China now. That's so we might those shorts start to pull up if we see a melt up today, which I don't think so. Not today. CPI data I think is important on Wednesday.
Absolutely. I agree with you. We'll see what we get right now. It hasn't given me a clear direction one way or the other. I do see choppiness ahead. Everybody have a fantastic trading day from BigBeat and myself. Have a great day.